Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Izzy Cinematic Escape on YouTube. I'm your host Izzy. As per usual, anyone who is new to the channel just happened to find it through the YouTube search engine and you enjoy my work, feel free to hit the subscribe button below and spread the word to your friends and family. Anyone who isn't new and has followed me since the creation of this channel, thank you, and I hope you all continue to enjoy my work. Today's review is based off the surprise hit from Sony that features a very popular character amongst the comic book community, and it is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, when the film was in production, a lot of people, including myself, were of the mind of knowing full well that this was Sony's attempt at maintaining the rights to Spider-Man as far as the Spider-Man cinematic universe is concerned on their end. So it was just one of those things where I felt, okay, you got lucky with Venom. And upon watching the trailer for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I wasn't initially sold on it, because considering how they have made less than desirable quality Spider-Man films, if you will, I was surprised by Venom. So the trailer for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I was thinking, okay, this does not look that appealing to me. And considering I'm not, still to this very day, I'm not a huge fan of Miles Morales. I never really particularly cared for the character. It wasn't something that I was interested in. So it was just one of those elements of cinema that I was just very kind of resistant to, if you will. It wasn't until that my assistant manager at the theater told me, and this is someone who actually has very strict taste as far as Spider-Man is concerned, even with the films and the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DCEU. He said that this is something that you need to watch, Isaiah. This is something I believe you will enjoy. He was surprised, and I was surprised to hear this come from him. Needless to say, on opening night, I went and watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I must say, Sony, I was very, 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 very surprised. It definitely caught me off guard. Now, for anyone who isn't familiar with the storyline, this is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and it's basically tapping into the multiverse of the Marvel Cinematic, well, not necessarily Marvel Cinematic Universe, but of the Marvel Sony-verse, if you will. And it's all completely animated, and it's exploring the origin tale of Miles Morales, who witnesses a horrible crime. This is a spoiler alert, so anyone who hasn't watched the movie, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. So I'm going to wait a few seconds. That way y'all can just kind of step back and do whatever it is that you need to do in order to avoid being spoiled. Miles Morales happens to get bit by a radioactive spider while hanging out with his uncle who happens to be the Prowler. He starts developing these spider-like abilities, and in the process, he's witnessing Spider-Man battle the Lizard and Kingpin in order to prevent them from bringing catastrophe into New York in terms of exploring the multiverse. Needless to say, Spider-Man ends up being, the original Spider-Man, Peter Parker, ends up being killed in the process by Kingpin, and it is up to Miles Morales. But in the process, all the different Spider-Mans from their universes ends up in this particular setting of New York. So you have Spider-Girl and Gwen Stacy, you have Spider-Man Nord, you have Spider-Ham, Peter Parker, you have Penny Parker, then you have, of course, Peter B. Parker from his past. And it was just one of those elements where I thought it was very, very interesting, to say the least. And upon watching this film even more, I really began to appreciate just how unique and different it was as far as the whole stylistic approach. With it, literally truly believes that it comes to life in the sense that it's like a comic book. I mean, a literal comic book coming to life. You've had many, directors or big time Marvel productions that have actually attempted to recreate that sense of a comic book coming to life, whereas Sony, with this one in particular, they literally did have this successful formula and making sure that it was completely animated, that there was no shame in having to be colorful and zany and just flat out in your face. And it's just every type of element that you could possibly imagine with the comic book spectrum is coming to life right before your eyes. And it's literally, as I mentioned, a comic book just jumping out at you with all the different panels. And I thought that was very, very cool. It was a very unique approach that I didn't think was possible. But what really impressed me about the film more than ever was just how much emotional and heartfelt that it was, and how original it was in terms of making sure that you were able to relate to every single Spider-Man that was contained in this film. You related to Miles Morales, you related to Spider-Man Nord, you related to Gwen Stacy, you related to Peter Parker, you related to Penny Parker, and even Spider-Ham to a certain degree. And I loved just the different personalities that these Spider-Mans had from their universe. It was just so monumentally special, and the fact that Sony had a hand in creating something so special just blew my mind. It still does to this very day. As I mentioned, they got lucky with Venom, and then of course this comes along. And I remember someone mentioned a comment on YouTube saying that if this is Sony's apology for the Emoji Movie, then apology accepted. And I have to agree. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is absolutely a phenomenal comic book film that breathes new life into the character. That, and for, of course, everyone knows it won the Academy Award for Best Animated Film, which is, hey, you can't. It's deserving. I mean, it's absolutely deserving. I mean, they worked really hard on this film, and the chemistry between the voice actors. I mean, again, you have Nicolas Cage who portrays Spider-Man Noir, which is this is a character I've always wanted to see on the big screen anyway. So I'm hoping that at some point in the future we get to see more of him. Again, I'm not too big on Miles Morales, but his story was very, very powerful. I really enjoyed how he was coming into his own with the character. And Spider-Girl with Gwen Stacy, not a huge Gwen Stacy fan, but again, I could get behind this particular narrative. I was I was impressed with Spider-Ham, because I remember reading the Spider-Man Ham comic, especially Spider-Ham comic books. I mean, these little miniaturized comic books that would come in these gum packets. And I remember growing up in the late 80s and early 90s, and I would read them, and it was just the character of Spider-Man in the pig format was just so monumentally crazy for me that I would love to see a Spider-Ham film. I mean, no apologies whatsoever. This is something that I need. This is something that needs to happen, my friends. But the real highlight for me personally, aside from the wonderful comic book visuals, is how we get to see Peter Parker attempt to be a mentor to Miles Morales. You know, you have the Spider-Man who, from his past, is literally just down in the dumps. He has lost everything that you could possibly imagine. He's lost Mary Jane. Aunt May has passed away. Again, this is a spoiler, folks, so anyone who hasn't watched the movie, this is someone who really has nothing to live for anymore. And to have him force himself to be a mentor to someone where he really didn't have any type of mentorship either, it really just paints a new light into the Spider-Man universe. And how someone mentioned that it's Mr. Miyagi, with this Peter Parker in particular, it's Mr. Miyagi, as if Mr. Miyagi didn't know anything. Peter Parker doesn't really know anything about being a mentor in this universe, so he's happened to attempt to guide Miles Morales into becoming his own version of Spider-Man. The Kingpin is absolutely sinister in the film. It's just absolutely intimidating, nefarious, and just Liev Schreiber does an amazing job of capturing that sense of menace within that viciousness of the character within the Kingpin. But I have to say my favorite part of the whole film actually is when Miles Morales creates his own Spider-Man suit, and he's taking that leap of faith, if you will. And it's just absolutely amazing watching him swing through the cities of New York. It's just absolutely beautiful. That made the whole film for me. And that's when I realized right then and there that we are witnessing something very special with the Spider-Man universe if they decide to dig deeper into the multiverse. Again, there's a lot of heartfelt moments, emotional moments, and you simply cannot go wrong with watching this film. It's absolutely wonderful. Highly recommended. Anyone who hasn't watched this film and is curious about it, I definitely recommend it. You cannot go wrong with it. Just flat out amazing visuals, beautiful voice acting, the emotional moments, just all around across the board. A perfect comic book film from beginning to end. Just absolutely wonderful. I can't sing enough praises for it, and the Academy Award that it received for Best Animated Feature is absolutely deserving. There is an amusing after credits scene involving Spider-Man 2099, which was one of my favorite comic books growing up, and I would love to see him into a feature-length film. It's absolutely amusing, and anyone who is familiar with the meme actually knows what I'm talking about when it comes to the 1960s Spider-Man all pointing at each other. That's just, seriously, you can't. Just perfect. Just all the humor is there, the emotion is there, the visuals is there, the music is wonderful, especially with the "What's Up Danger" with Miles is swinging through the city. Just seriously perfect, absolutely wonderful. That is my review of Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse. I hope you guys enjoy my review. I give it a 2 thumbs up, a 5 out of 5. If you have watched it, please let me know in the comment section what you thought about it. Provide a like if you want to. Anyone who is on my Facebook and happen to watch the review, provide a like and let me know in the comment section what you thought about it as well. I'm looking forward to hearing your views. That is my review, and I hope you guys continue to remain safe and healthy. Peace out.